Hello, everybody. I am Luna Willows.
And I'm Jenna Pierce. We'd love to welcome you to our podcast, The Flow of Ink,
Which is a great place where we take our writing life day by day and our stories page by page.
So why don't you sit back, relax, and stay for a bit while we have a chat. All right, so for today's episode, we've been kind of promoting this a little bit with Ashley Reigle. She is a children's fictional literature author, and she's pretty awesome. I have actually known her for about 5 years, give or take. Interesting fact, her in-laws bought my childhood home.
Wow.
Yeah. It was an interesting surprise when her husband showed up one day with to talk to his parents, and then it was like, wow. All right, so go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, Ashley.
Well, thank you both again for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I'm actually originally from Illinois. My family moved here probably 13, 14 years ago or so. I work part-time outside of the home, but I enjoy doing art and writing on the side. And I love spending time with my husband and my kids. And that's about it.
Awesome. We're so excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
Yes. So in this episode, we will be learning more about Ashley and discussing her book, Draw Away the Drizzle, which we will have a link in the description so you can look at her book and her artwork and everything.
Yep.
So why don't we get started? I am going to be asking you your first question. How long, Ashley, would you say you've been writing, or when did you start?
Actually, I began my journey into the literary world by doing illustration for other people.
Okay.
And it inspired me after a while to kind of push my boundaries because I'm shy myself.
Mm-hmm.
And to go into making work of my own. I've always written in private, but this is my first big venture into sharing it with other people.
That's awesome.
Right? I agree. 100%. All right, so the second question that we have for you today is, when did you know that you loved art?
I've actually been drawn to art, I would say, since I was old enough to hold a pencil by myself. Some of my earliest memories are of doodling. It's such a great outlet and just way to vent things out.
It really is. Next question is, what part of your book was the most fun to create?
I would say being a huge fan of poetry, that I really enjoyed making the story have a rhyme scheme that flowed really well from page to page.
I do. I absolutely love that part. Me being into poetry myself, I literally kind of had a little bit of tears at the end when I read it this time. I was like, oh my gosh, I love it. It's so cute. I love it. I love the rhyming and the poetry of it, and it really clicks. It really draws people in. It really does.
It does, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so the next question is, what is the most difficult part of your artistic process?
I think for me, I'm not really a details kind of person or a type A personality, so probably the ins and outs of editing and planning things out and reworking things that I've kind of invested time and love into already, and having to fix and change and tweak things can be difficult.
Makes sense.
Yep. I think almost every author and maybe even every artist also does that, have that issue as well. The people who are creative, I should say, as a whole, screenwriters and, everybody. I think we all kind of have those kinds of,
Yeah.
block and issues with our writing, and stuff. But we get through it still, right?
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
And it doesn't help that we're like our harshest critics too, because I don't know if you're the same, Ashley, but it's like maybe this could be better, and you want to tweak it and just make it until it's perfect.
Oh, absolutely. I'll overthink it and gotta zone myself in and be like, this is good, just let it be. Don't mess with it anymore.
Right?
So, deeper into your writing process, what would you say it is like? And are you more of a plotter or a pantser?
I tend to be one to kind of just spill all my ideas on paper first, and then I go back and kind of tweak and fine tune things. If I put too many guidelines on myself to like sit down and have constraints to write, I can't perform. Like I get frustrated, I get blocked. Kind of has to just be a natural flow.
Does it sound like someone else we know?
She is a pantser for sure. Welcome to the club.
Right? All right. So, was it your children that made you want to write children's books, or was it something else?
I'd say definitely. I've always loved making up little stories for them before bedtime, and like both of my children are very artistic as well. So we like to draw together, so just kind of combining the things that we do together. My husband inspired me as well because I'm pretty reserved, so the three of them really kind of helped push me out of my little shell.
That's awesome. I love that.
I do too. That's amazing. When did the idea of Draw Away the Drizzle come to you?
It actually kind of came a few months before I ever even started like putting it onto paper. I kind of just jotted it down in the notes of my phone, and I showed a little bit of it to my husband, and he was like, you should do something with this, like make a full-length book with this. You could totally do it. So
Well, I'm so glad he did, because it's amazing.
Yes.
Aw.
Great.
Took a little prodding.
Yeah.
Right? What is the most valuable piece of advice that you've been given about writing?
I think it would probably be that putting out your work as a creator is a marathon. It's not a race. You really have to kind of keep at it and don't let the setbacks dishearten you because it's a process. I mean, it can take time to get your work out there, and it's a learning curve for sure.
Agreed 100%. Absolutely. That is amazing advice.
It is. What comes first for you? Would you say it's the plot or the characters, and why?
Actually, I would say it's probably the plot because if I kind of set the scene, then the characters fall into place to kind of complement the story.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. We are very much people who the characters yell at us first. So it is it is interesting to hear from a perspective of the opposite. It's awesome.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. Both of my children write, and they're the same way as you two are. Like, they have character maps, and they map out these people, and it's like a whole universe of people before they even, like, set the scene. So I think it's really cool that everybody has, like, a different style of doing things.
Definitely.
That's what makes the whole process of being so creative, like, it's unique, but, like, at the same time, everybody in the creative world, we can all understand that, and it's just, we can all respect that and stuff, so I love it. Like, I love the fact that she has a different perspective from us, and I love that for you, the story comes first before the characters. Like, that's really cool.
Thanks.
And see, reading the book, I would never have guessed that.
Yeah.
Genuinely reading it, I thought that your cat came first.
Thanks.
So, what does literary success look like to you?
Say my idea of it is probably not quite like the big shining dreams most people have. For me, it would just be to be able to continue to put out work and to reach more people that can enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it. I've done readings with bunches of little kids, and just seeing their face when they hear the story, that's why I do it. That's what I enjoy about it. So
Yeah, I know. It's so sweet. What do you like to do when you're not writing?
I do a lot of art, of course, but I like to spend time with my family. We go to resale shops and antique stores a lot. I like to buy things that have had a life before they came to me. I think that's fun and interesting, like a history.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to go traveling and hiking with my husband. Both my kids love music and they like to write too. So I like to learn about what they're into and listen to their stories and stuff like that.
Side question: where was your favorite place that you've ever traveled, and why?
Um, that's tough. I actually like probably. It's weird because we don't live that far from there, but I love Gettysburg. Like we've gone to Gettysburg several times, and every time we go, like we do the tours and we've done the ghost tours, and we always like to take the kids and get those old time like family portraits, like the Civil War looking ones. I just love that.
That's really awesome.
That's so cool. Mm-hmm. I know here they have Valley Fair, and they always have a booth set up that you can get the vintagey photos. And I actually did one when I was like 16, and my mom still has it. And it's like, I love to look back at it, but it's also horrifying because I'm like, wait, I put that on? Really?
Yeah, Gettysburg is really awesome. For everybody listening out there who likes anything like historical related, who likes going on vacations and doing historical tours about the Civil War and so on and so forth, if you're going to come to Pennsylvania, you have to go to Gettysburg. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You gotta go.
It's amazing, it really is. When I lived there, I went a couple times, and I wish I would have never left in that aspect, because the museums and everything, oh my god, I love Pennsylvania.
Absolutely. All right, so as much as we love talking about that kind of thing, we must move on. So what advice would you give to aspiring writers when it comes to working on their first book?
Say for them not to get discouraged and not be afraid to go out of their comfort zone. I remember when I had like my first signings and stuff, like I said before, I was so shocked, so nervous about everything. But just take a breath, like put yourself out there. If you're in the writing process and you're like, oh, I shouldn't write about this, don't doubt yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I wish someone would have told me that a year ago. Oh my goodness.
Well, we're here to let you know.
And I think that's funny too, because if it wasn't for me putting my like story out there, I would have never even met Jenna. Like, that is how we met. We had a mutual friend, and she reached out to her and was just like, hey, you should check this story out. And I found out later, and I was like, oh my goodness, do you think I could talk to her? And they were just like, yeah, like, just add her on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that's how our whole relationship began.
That's amazing. It's like those like small moments that make like big things happen. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I love it.
Mm-hmm. We talk every single day. So getting back, what would you say to an author who wanted to design their own cover?
AKA me.
Yes.
I know for me, as it's kind of different for me because it's more so I I like physically like drawing out the pictures beforehand and then they're being scanned in. But I think it works for anybody. Like, research the parameters of the program or software that you're using before you start. Like, it's so much easier if you know, like, how it's going to be formatted and what size it's going to be, so you can save yourself a lot of trouble. Because having to tweak something you've already made to fit those guidelines after the fact, oh, it can be, like, aggravating.
Ooh, I didn't even think of that.
I feel like that's a thing for you too, because you're like, wait, what size do I need to make this? And then we get frustrated trying to figure that out. And you're like,
yeah, but I do the graphic design for my books. Yeah, it's a hassle, especially when you're going from like Barnes and Noble to like Amazon, KDP, and then the book is a totally different. It's like, oh, the sizes. So, and then if you don't do it just right, Ingram Spark, which is the national company, they're just gonna say, nope, we're not gonna move forward with this until you upload the right file size. I'm like, it's such a pesky part of the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be tedious. Like, I'm so thankful for my husband in that part of the process, like working with Amazon and Ingram and stuff when I was working on my book, because he's so much better with like that detail kind of stuff. Like, if it were just me doing it, it would have been like, ah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know from experience that is a hassle. And for me, I'm not even doing actual artwork like you are. Like, I'm doing just like graphic design with Paint Shop Pro and other platforms and stuff. So it's just, yeah. But you're doing like actual like artwork. Like, that number one, that's so cool. And number two, like,
yeah,
that's gonna be hard to really get the sizing just right.
Oh yeah.
And one of my favorite parts about your book actually is the outlines you do for each like paragraph of the page. Like, I love that attention to detail. So like, learning that was the difficulty, I could not imagine lining that up with your writing and everything perfectly. Oh my goodness.
I think I go crazy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I give you kudos, girl, 100%.
Oh, thank you.
So actually, when you're doing your artwork, like, how did you do it? Were you like sketching it? Were you painting? Because it looks almost like watercolor too. So did you mix different like aspects?
Actually, yeah, I would sketch it out in pencil on watercolor paper, and they're all actually filled in by hand. They're watercolor pieces.
Oh my!
So they're all like individual like watercolor paintings, and then I would go over top in ink.
That's so beautiful. I love it.
Amazing. Oh my goodness.
I just learned something new. Wow.
Yeah. And that just shows you like how much work and attention to detail went into this amazing story.
Exactly.
Well, thank you. I actually had a really good friend who the only thing that is digital, she did the part on the umbrella in the front of my book with the title. She does graphic design and she works at Crayola. So she was actually able to help me do that part, which I was so thankful for.
That's
what?
Really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is really awesome.
So
all right. Well, next question would be yours, I think.
Yes, it is mine. What would you say to an author who wanted to...
Never mind. I guess we already did that question. Oops. Alright, so the next question on the list. It's okay, Luna. It's okay. It's okay. It's all cool.
My blonde braid is kicking in today.
That's okay. Okay, so the next question that we have for you, Ashley, is do you have any interest in branching outside of the children's genre for writing?
Actually, yeah. I've been spending a lot of time lately writing, compiling my own collection of poetry.
Mm. I'm excited for that. I can't wait.
Uh,
So, are you, speaking of Draw Away the Drizzle, are you working on a sequel or any new books? If so, can you tell us a bit about it?
yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm putting together a collection of poetry that I'd like to pair with some of my favorite drawings, kind of like a coffee table book, like you can thumb through and read the poems and look at the artwork, and that would be more of a broad audience, maybe not children. But I also have been working on another children's story.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah.
It's actually about kind of based on the idea of not judging others by their appearance, but it's kind of comes at it in a fun way. It involves monsters and like vampires and werewolves and like it's really cute, kind of whimsical, same like art style as before. So
That's cool.
I
yeah.
can't wait for that. I'm totally buying that book.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Let us know. We will pre-order. So, a question. Does any of your character, like, does the cat from Draw Away the Drizzle enter any of you in this story?
No, but actually I will say there's a couple of little parts in the one that I'm working on that I tried to sneak one of my kids in, like as a character.
Aww.
And the work I had done for another author before, I snuck my kids into that one too, as some of the little cartoons in the background. So something for them to look out for, I guess.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So that pretty much covers the questions that we have. Is there anything that you would like to say to the audience?
I guess that I would just say copies of my book are available on my website as well as some of my original pieces. And that's just my name, ashleyreigle.com. And I take commission work through there as well. So
Also, notice that on your website you also did the illustration for another children's book as well.
yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's actually a great one if with Christmas coming up. It's a book by a man named Larry Diebert. It's called Santa's Day Jobs. And the idea that he came up with is sort of, what does Santa do during the rest of the year? Like, it's him going and working, like, different jobs. And it's so fun to draw the pictures for that.
It sounds like it.
Alright, so anybody listening out there who has children who is looking for some new children's books to, to bring into the lives of their little ones, check out Ashley Reigle on ashleyreigle.com. We will provide the link below the video, so just check it out and buy her book. You will not regret it. And also feel free to check out the book that she also did illustrations on as well. So, and make sure that you follow her on social media so that you know what she's up to with her writing and that you get the latest, most up-to-date news on the next coming book.
Yes.
Great. Thank you both so much for having me. This has been wonderful.
Absolutely, we love having you here too. We hope that maybe we'll have a future episode as well with you on here.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Alright everyone, so that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's conversation at The Flow of Ink.
We appreciate each and every one of you. We hope to see you join us for next week's episode, where we will be doing the review for the third book, Forever, by Maggie Stiefvater.
If any questions for us or for Ashley, please drop a comment below and we will address it in our Q&A portion at the beginning of next week's episode. We promise that we won't bite.
Not too hard. Also, don't forget to hit that bell icon and subscribe to our channel so you get notified for every episode we post. Again, thank you for joining us here at The Flow of Ink, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Ciao for now.
Bye-bye.